Hi, I got another Colts update for you. Um, First of all, great win on Sunday over the Titans. It really did feel like a complete team win. There's a lot of guys making big plays at different positions. Uh, and we needed all of them to get that win. That was a tough game, really gutsy performance by really the whole team. But the Colts still have some issues to deal with this week. Some pretty serious issues, I think. And you're not seeing this talked about in the media and the local media, not even by like Pat McAfee or anyone else. But the Colts have some issues going on. Now I understand why nobody really wants to talk about it. It's a very delicate kind of situation. It's hard to manage a lot of personalities, and I think a lot of what makes a great football coach is not knowing football, but actually knowing how to be a great leader and how to be fair, how to maintain accountability in the locker room. Because as soon as you lose accountability, in other words, if players don't feel like their efforts are being recognized, and if guys don't feel like it's worth it for them to give 100%, that just falls apart really quickly. That was one of my biggest complaints about the Frank Reich era. I just did not. I could just see that Frank Reich was not that type of leader, and I could just see the strings kind of unraveling. So I think Shane Steichen is awesome. I think Shane Steichen actually is this guy to be a great coach, great leader. But it's getting really tricky, I think, and we're gonna have to make a decision here. Um, I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not officially with the Colts in any ways, and this video is 100% speculation, but I'm trying to basically read between the lines because there's a lot that players can't really say without, you don't want to look like the negative guy, airing out the dirty laundry in the media. You don't want to be that guy. But anyways, just to recap, here's what happened with Michael Pittman earlier in the week on October 9th, Wednesday, 5:30. This report comes out. So this is Wednesday night. Adam Schefter reports that Michael Pittman's dealing with a back injury that's now expected him to sideline him multiple weeks per sources. So first of all, was really weird to hear. Nobody had heard anything about a back injury, I don't think. Now, I'm sure Michael Pittman might be dealing with all kinds of, pain, minor injuries. But for this report to come out, it was really weird. And what I think's going on here is Pittman's basically using his leverage through the media with this report to kind of get what he wants and get what's best for him and what he thinks is best for the team. And I actually agree with him. I think this is best for the team. Let me explain a little more. So first of all, if you don't know, Adam Schefter is like one of these guys that he's not really a journalist or anything. He's what they call an insider. And these guys basically just have their job is they have a ton of connections, and they report whatever somebody tells them to report, basically. it's kind of a it makes sense in a way. It's like players want to get their message out, but they don't want to. There's a lot of times you don't want to directly, say like, because the whole thing about a team is that you stick together no matter what. So, but there's times when uh, things need to be resolved in other ways. So I think that's what Pittman's doing here, and I think the real problem, what I mentioned in my first video, was that I thought Pittman was kind of mocking Anthony Richardson for being so basically soft. He does not handle injuries well. We've seen this, like in his short career, we've seen this a lot where he takes a big hit and he's out for the game, or he's out. It's just he just cannot play through these hits, and that sucks because that's just part of the game. Like I was watching the Cincinnati New York game last night. I saw Daniel Jones and Joe Burrow taking hit after hit, and they got up and played the next snap. So I'm sure they're feeling it today, but maybe it's not fair to call Anthony Richardson soft, but what I'm saying is he's soft by NFL standards, because if you're in the NFL, it requires really extraordinary toughness and pain tolerance. These guys are exceptionally tough. And for someone like Michael Pittman Jr., who's, his dad was a running back in the league, he knows what this life is about, really. He understands you got to play through pain. You got to be on the field for your team. End of the day. You hear people talk about availability is the best ability. So for Michael Pittman, I think he's seeing Anthony Richardson and getting really frustrated with this guy's attitude towards the game. What I've noticed a lot is Anthony Richardson, a lot of his interviews last year, like they'd ask him how he's doing, and he said like, "Oh, I'm a little sore" or something. And it's like, that is just not what you say as an NFL player. All those guys are sore. You don't talk about your injury unless you're absolutely unless your leg is broken or something. You don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna ice it a little bit, maybe maybe just rest for a while today, watch some movies." You just don't say that. You just get back to work. So that's Michael Pittman. I think is seeing that Anthony Richard kind of acting like a baby, and Richardson really, I think he's kind of been pampered his whole life. I think he's kind of been brought up in very supportive environment, which is great for him. He's from Gainesville and he went to University of Florida. So it's like he's been in this kind of bubble, and then all of a sudden he's drafted and he's in Indy and he's the future of the Colts. He's the future Colts quarterback, right? That's what he's drafted to be. Well, we're starting to see, I think, that he really is just not that guy. Not only is he not, he's not really able to pass effectively. I've seen him miss a lot of throws, easy throws, I think. Routine type passes. He's missing these throws over and over again. There was a report in training camp that the Cardinals defense was clowning on him for being so inaccurate. So, the thing is, the reason the Colts drafted Richardson was not to be like a pocket passer. He's not going to be like a Jordan Love type guy. I don't think he ever will be. But they drafted him because he's an incredible athlete. He's like the size of Cam Newton, and he's like as fast as Lamar Jackson. It's actually crazy. So I don't think this was a bad chance to take. But I think at this point we're seeing that it's not going to work because of Richardson's inability to be effective passing. He needs to be running. He needs to be a running quarterback. He needs to be playing that Lamar Jackson type game. Cam Newton. Josh Allen does it a lot. Kyler Murray. I think Jalen Hurts. Even Daniel Jones. And there's a lot of quarterbacks who are effective with their legs. I think Richardson, they thought, was going to be one of the best at this because he's so big and fast. But with his inability to stay on the field and avoid injuries, whatever it is, whether you can just power through contact or if you are just protecting yourself like Lamar Jackson kind of does. He's always running like a running back, and he seems to avoid big hits. And the other thing is, Richardson, because of his struggles with accuracy, he actually has to run in order to open up the passing game. And if you are able to threaten the defense with your legs as a quarterback, that actually opens up the passing game so much. I see the Ravens a lot, and it seems like their receivers are just wide open sometimes. And I think it's because the defense is so afraid of the running threat, you get more. So you don't have to be as accurate of a passer if you can threaten with your legs. But the problem is, Richardson is not, I don't think he's willing to run. I don't think he wants to get hit. I don't think he wants to run. He wants to sit back in the pocket. And I think he thinks that he should be able to develop as a passer over the next few years. That's not realistic. We've seen Shane Steichen talk early in the season about how Steph Curry, you want to ask Steph Curry to stop shooting threes. And he's saying we're not gonna have Richardson just be a passer because his legs are why we drafted him, basically. So you're starting to get some resentment, I think, in the locker room about the way Richardson is kind of approaching the season and how he's playing. And there's a lot that we don't see in the locker room. We don't know what kind of teammate he is. I seriously doubt he has a solid work ethic. Just because he's 22 and really hasn't played that much quarterback in his life. And if he's not willing to run, it's just not going to work. Our best bet is to go with Flacco. So back to the Pittman thing, I think that's what's going on, is that basically earlier in the week, the Colts were having Richardson practice, full practice, like he's ready to play. And then I think Michael Pittman Jr. decided he'd seen enough and said, if the Colts are going to play AR, then my back is now injured. Because like I said, these guys are not going to put their bodies on the line and sacrifice for a guy who's, they don't feel like's given 100% and who's like basically soft. So it's a difficult situation. On one hand, you don't want to give up on your young quarterback, but I think Pittman is kind of right in this situation. And I think that if they try to start Richardson, I think Pittman is either going to, I think he's going to end up asking for a trade. And what you saw happen, as soon as I saw this interview come out, so this report, Adam Schefter, on Wednesday night, 2 days later, you see this Michael Pittman interview. And here's Kent Sterling. He's going to set it up. I'll just play a little bit of it, but just watch Pittman and just watch kind of how he's acting. To me, this is the face of a guy who cannot speak freely and doesn't feel like he can say what he's really thinking. Which again, I talked about why he doesn't want to do that. You don't want to be the negative guy on the media. You want to always be a team player, but you have to read between the lines here for that reason. So what Pittman's really saying here is he's using his leverage to say, yeah, I might be injured. So if Anthony Richardson is going to start, then my back is injured. And you'll see him say, he kind of laughs everything off. He's kind of uncomfortable, acting like it's all kind of a joke. And they ask him about the MRI, and he's like, and everything about this interview is very, like, kind of, for lack of a better word, it's very kind of fake. So this is the elephant in the room. Nobody close to the Colts wants to talk about this for understandable reasons. But that's why I'm here piecing it together, because I've just been really confused about what's going on. So I think this makes sense to me. If you watch Pittman's reaction, remember this is 2 days later. Just watch how he handles these questions and the way it seems like very up in the air. And basically he's saying, if Joe Flacco is going to get the start, then yeah, I'm playing.
Perhaps multiple weeks, maybe not even be down for 1 week. So we talked to Michael Pittman.
What? What's up? What do you mean?
How are you feeling? You're at me.
I feel great. Never been better.
Never been better. So you're just going to stay there and like for that?
No.
Your back's never been better?
Yeah, well, we still don't know, like, what course of action, like, is going to happen, but I'm just doing everything to put myself in the best situation to,
He said, I'm trying to do everything to put myself in the best situation. He's saying he wants to be on a team that's trying to win. Michael Pittman Jr. doesn't need money. Like I said, his dad was an NFL player. He's one of the best. I think he's one of the most stand-up Colts players I've ever seen. He's tough. I've seen him get his head. I've seen him take huge hits and get up and play the next play. It's like, I've got a ton of respect for this guy. And if he, I don't think the Colts can turn their back. They can't go with Richardson over Pittman. They can't do that. There's a lot of teams that would love to have Michael Pittman right now. If we could, the Colts could probably get like a first, maybe a first, probably a second round pick maybe for him. I think the Chiefs, for one, could really use him. Maybe the Jets might want him. The Ravens. There's a lot of teams that would like Michael Pittman. But Michael Pittman doesn't want money. He's not Brandon Ayuk. Michael Pittman Jr. wants a Super Bowl. And that's why he's doing this, because if he thought AR gave the Colts a chance to win, I don't think you'd be seeing this. And for the first month of the season, you didn't see any issues, because at that point, everyone was still supportive of Richardson. But I feel like I've seen enough to say he's not the guy. He's just not that guy right now. And I don't see really a problem with having him be the backup quarterback. I really don't think it's that much of an issue. But the problem for the Colts is they drafted him with the 4th overall pick and this understanding that he's supposed to be the quarterback of the future. So for them, I think their best bet is to try to trade him. He's from Florida. He's probably would do best somewhere like Miami or Jacksonville. I think both those teams are looking for answers too, and maybe he could, I don't know, sometimes you just need a fresh start and just a new perspective on things. So I don't think that's a bad trade for those teams, but I think the Colts have to go Flacco for the rest of the season, or else you risk resentment in the locker room and you risk having your best players like this kind of come out with, you start seeing these weird stories, and it's because it's locker room issues. Let me play a little more here.
Play because I want to be out there for everybody in here, and so we'll see what happens, but nothing's guaranteed. Everything is kind of still on the table. So
everything's still on the table. To me, that means he's not giving up, but he's saying everything's still on the table. If we go with Flacco here, then everything will be just fine. But if we keep playing around with this AR experiment, which I think is over, it's not going to be good. So the Colts play Miami next week. They have to win that game. Looks terrible since they lost Tua. Colts should beat Miami. If they play Flacco, they should beat the Dolphins. Another thing, you notice all these, a lot of noise in the locker room. The players are sick of the reporters in the locker room. And I am too. I don't know why the reporters do not belong. It's people who do not belong in the locker room. Get them out of here. It's weird to have, I played sports. A locker room is a team environment. I've always thought that was weird that they have cameras and microphones, and you walking around and you see guys in towels, and it's I have never understood why that was okay for these reporters to just be walking in to this environment. So I'm looking forward to getting rid of these locker room talks, honestly. Not that I don't want to hear from the players, but I just think it's weird. It's it's too invasive.
what MRI show can you share? Oh no, of course not.
Of course not.
Obviously, the concern is if you play,
Because he's not really injured.
to where you can't make it worse. Well, there's a lot of things to consider, and just I can't release that, but I don't know. So.
He can't say what he wants to say, but he's saying it behind closed doors, basically. But even more of a reason to respect him for not just airing out the dirty laundry and causing a big scene. He's smart. He's not going to do that. But he's also smart enough to know that he doesn't have to put up with losing, and I don't blame him. As soon as players start thinking that the team is not doing their best to win, that's when things start going bad. Let's just see a little more.
Practice on today, though. Yeah. How did it feel today? Good. Of course, nobody was whacking you around. Yeah, well, that's what football is. Sometimes football hurts. So.
Yeah, so sometimes football hurts right there. It's I think that kind of sums up the whole thing. Anthony Richardson needs to realize that sometimes football hurts. Sometimes you got to play through pain. If he's not going to do that, then you lose all respect in the locker room. And I think Pittman's not the only one who this is affecting. I think Zaire is feeling this way too, and I think that's part of the reason we've been having issues on defense. Defenses seems like it's so much about pride, and if you don't have any pride in your team, really, the defense is not going to go out there and perform, because they're, like I said, they're not going to go sacrifice their body and put themselves through injuries and all that just so they can, at the end of the day, basically just make excuses for the quarterback. It doesn't matter how young he is. It's really about his attitude and his work ethic. I don't think it's there. I don't think he has any clue. I don't even think he knows what he's doing wrong, because I think he's just oblivious to like how hard you should be working as an NFL quarterback. So I don't think he's anywhere close to being that guy. And it's so crazy to like basically ask 52 other players to sacrifice their careers on the chance that Richardson might develop. You know, who knows? This could take 2 or 3 years for him to learn how to pass. He needs to be running now to win. His passing game might develop in a few years, but it might not. And if we just wait around just to find out, and in the meantime just throw away these seasons, we should have beat the Packers. I mean, that was awful with Malik Willis. Like, come on. We know, Colts fans know Malik Willis. We should not have been beat by the Packers. And every win counts. They should be 4-2 right now, really. And actually, they probably could have won the first game with Flacco. So who knows what might have happened. Houston, I mean, we were right on Houston's tail. Now, I know Richardson has had big plays. It's been really exciting, those bombs he threw to Pierce, and he's had some good runs. And he even flashed some talent last year, but it's really just about his attitude and his work ethic more so, I think. That's what I'm piecing together from what I'm seeing from these interviews. Again, I don't want to be too hard on anybody. I know everybody wants to win. I believe everybody wants to make their city proud, but I think it's just what it comes down to is the NFL is just so competitive. You have to really be extraordinarily tough and dedicated. I don't think Richardson is dedicated as much as he would have people believe. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to clarify. I said in my video I thought Pittman was kind of mocking AR. I think that's a little bit of it, but on second thought, I think Pittman is really just using his leverage to get what's best for him as a player. And for him, that's having a chance to win a Super Bowl. I think the Colts do have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year, which might sound crazy with all their injuries and everything, but they've got a lot of talent on this team. And I still think Shane Steichen's one of the best coaches in the league. I still think Chris Ballard deserves a lot of credit for his drafts. I know people will be harsh on Ballard, but I think he's done fine. He's done a lot better than Ryan Grigson. If you look back at Ryan Grigson's draft history, he really only drafted, I think it was like 5 or 6 drafts he had. He drafted Ryan Kelly, Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton. That's about it. If you look at all the other players he drafted, they had like no career in the league. It's crazy. He was terrible at drafting. So I think based on that, I rate Ballard as doing pretty well. But this is going to be a big decision this week to see what the Colts do with Richardson because, man, I do not think they can start him this Sunday. And going forward, whether it's injuries or whatever, however they want to spin it, they don't want to give up. You want to be supportive of a young player no matter what. But you can't give up your season. So we'll see what they do. I think this is a huge decision. I think they will end up going with Flacco for the rest of the season. But we'll see. I think I covered everything. Let me know in the comments if you wanted me to clarify anything or talk about anything else. But I just want to provide my thoughts again. You won't see this storyline like in the media because like I said, it's a very delicate situation. So they're managing it, they're navigating this whole thing. So they're doing well. But I just want to provide some clarity as a fan because I think a lot of people are confused, and I think if you understand this, it does make a lot more sense. Anyways, have a good week, guys.